the turn.
It's
coming
okay.
in, like, oh.
It's okay. We can cut that out.
Oh no.
Alright. Kind of weird setup. We got.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as you're just kind of looking like.
Yeah,
like,
I got
it'll be
you.
good.
I got you.
Alright. So, can you tell me who you are and explain your role at the Shepherd's House?
Sure. My name is Roger Fox, and I'm a vice president at the Shepherd's House. My role in the vice president includes managing community impact treatment programs, so like outpatient programs, and a lot of community development programs and public relations, basically. A lot of that stuff.
Cool. So can you explain how you got involved with Shepherd's House?
Sure. In 2015, I made parole. I was in prison. I was making parole. I didn't know where I was going to go. I was scrambling to find a place, and I was in a substance abuse treatment program in LaGrange, Kentucky, at the Rotor Farm, a prison in Kentucky. And I was making parole, and I needed a place to go. There was a guy in the program that, as he was leaving, he said, "When you get out, come and find me. I'm going to go to this place called the Shepherd's House." And I was like, "All right, I'll come. Yeah, I'll come see you." And I needed a place to go, and the Shepherd's House is there to take me in. So May the 1st, 2015 is the day that I got here. It was a Friday, and I've been involved ever since.
That is awesome, and I just want to say congratulations
Thank you.
on recovery. I'm like really passionate about this stuff because I have like family. And
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Also, I just realized I forgot to do something, which it's fine. Like I can use the audio from those two, but I gotta
Okay.
record audio in here. Sorry.
Sorry.
So, can you explain what Shepherd's House is?
Sure. So the Shepherd's House is a 501c3 nonprofit drug and alcohol treatment program. We were formed as a place to house men who were returning to our community, and Fred Hood and some more parishioners from Good Shepherd's Episcopal got together and said there was a problem. There was a problem that there wasn't a place for men to come to whenever they were coming back to Lexington from treatment. So they said, we need to get together, we need to do something. And the Shepherd's House was born, and for the first 25 years of our existence, all we did was house men here in Lexington on campus, in this location right across the street, our original location. We did that, and in 2015 we got a new CEO named Jared Thomas, and he was really aggressive about changing the Shepherd's House. He believes in the model that we have, and so we expanded. We started going into jail programs and creating substance abuse programs inside of detention centers, and then we also knew that the problem was inside the jail, but also in the community, so we developed these community impact treatment programs that help advocate for people that are incarcerated, help them get the treatment that they deserve, provide life skills, jobs, education, all of the essential skills to living in recovery.
Can you tell me more about the program that you all do?
Sure. So, like I said, we offer really 3 different types of programs. And the first one is what we're known for, is these housing programs. They're 12 to 18 months. It's a long-term intensive program for a guy or a girl. We opened a women's program recently to come to after they've completed treatment. And really, the Shepherd's House is built on peer accountability. So everybody in the program becomes your brother or your sister, and you kind of learn and grow together. We're 12-step based, so we want you to go to AA, we want you to get involved, get a sponsor, do 90 meetings in 90 days, go to therapy, get a job, pay your rent. And that's the most important thing, is that you learn how to be responsible for yourself.
Wow. Can you tell me more about like the history of Shepherd's House? You were talking about Fred Hood.
Sure, yeah. So what I know of it anyway,
Yeah.
in the mid-'80s, Fred Hood, whose son struggled with alcohol abuse. You know, they'd been through this a lot. And a lot of families get caught in this cycle of like sending their loved one to treatment, then they're coming home and there's not a place for that person to go to. And Fred Hood, you know, said we need to do something. There were a lot of members or parishioners at Good Shepherds that wanted to be involved, and the church really started working on this mission. And it took several years for the program to develop. In 1989, in July of 1989, we took our first client in, and we've grown from there. You know, that first program, that first house, that when we first initially got started, we could only do about like 12 to 13 guys, and you know, we've grown to serving 35 at this location, 300 across 6 counties, and
Wow.
adding more in the future.
That is awesome. Talking more about Fred Hood, can you talk more about like, you know, like he was just like an ordinary guy that just like he had something going on, and he
Right.
was passionate about it, so it made a
Right.
difference.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, that's it shows the dedication of Fred, and you know, his passion for making a difference, not only for his son, but for every other family that's going to be going through this in the future. You know, and I can't imagine like 1985. You know, treatment is prevalent today. Sober living is prevalent today. Recovery housing, all these things. There's all this money being thrown at it, but in 1985 there was nothing. You know, and to say, all right, I have a problem, and I need to do something about it, and then to go out and get it done. You know, much less like the help of a church at that time too. You know, which is huge. It says a lot about Good Shepherd and the people there, right? It's like, all right, we want to address this issue, and we want to do it in the right way. We want to do it in a good location, and we want to do something that's going to impact people's lives for generations.
Yes, yes. So going back to you talking about how it was like, you know, in the 1980s, so it was one of the first recovery houses in Lexington, right? Or the first? Or...
One of the first that
Yeah,
I know of,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And you know, today, like I said, today there's a lot of them. There's a lot of sober living and recovery housing programs and places for men and women to go to as they're returning to the community. But the Shepherd's House has been doing this for 30 plus years now.
Yeah. So you're talking about how there's a lot of them now. So like,
Yeah.
what do you think makes Shepherd's House like stand out from that?
Well, I think what makes us different is it's the brotherhood. You know, that's what it is that we're a family. And you're a family when you're a client here. You're a part of the family, and when you graduate the program and you go on to live your life, whatever that may be, you're still a member of the Shepherd's House family. You know, it just so happens that I'm blessed enough to be able to still work here, and my partner in there, Christian counselor, he's a vice president. He's a graduate of the program, and that's my brother. You know, and Jerry Thomas, our boss, he's our brother. You know, and really that's what makes the difference is that we love each other. This is a mission of the heart. I promise you, we're never going to wake a person up in the middle of the night and say, hey, you didn't pay your rent, you got to go. You know, we believe in doing the next right thing, and we try to instill that in our clients.
So do a lot of the workers, have they been through the program?
Yeah, so a lot of the guys that work here, I guess everybody that works here basically is a graduate of this program. You know, and a lot of our newer programs, we're starting to build that. You know, there's a young lady in this office right behind me that is a graduate of our Boyle County program, and she runs our admissions for us today. You know, so we believe in reinvesting in the people that went through our programs, helping them, give them a future, change the lives of their kids and maybe their grandkids one day.
Awesome. Sorry, I lost my place. Can you speak more on who Fred Hood was and what his relationship to the Shepherd's House was? Sorry. Actually, sorry, I feel like I've already asked it all.
I don't know.
No, you're fine.
Didn't know it's
Yeah, you're fine. Okay. So what impacts do you think Shepherd's House has had on the local community?
Sure. So, you know, the mission of the Shepherd's House has changed the lives of hundreds or thousands of men over the course of 30 years. You know, this program here specifically has been able to take men in for a year at a time and provide them with job skills and life skills and social skills and educational skills and all these things that they're able to take back, whether they're from Lexington or they're from Lincoln County or they're from Western Kentucky, back to their community and reinvest in their communities.
So what do you think Shepherd's House, like how do you think it has affected Kentucky as a whole? Going
Sure.
with that?
Yeah, I mean, more of the same, because we have always, for 25 years, we were on such a small scale. And today, like I said about us being family, there's more than 300 men and women in the Shepherd's House family that are active participants in our programs today. From 180 men and women in the Grant County Detention Center in northern Kentucky to 40 men in a substance abuse program inside the Boyle County Detention Center. So, from northern Kentucky all the way down to Boyle County, we're making an impact, and these are people that are going to go back to their communities and remember, just like I did, that I don't have to turn back to a life of crime. I don't have to turn back to using drugs. I don't have to do any of these things. I'm a good person. I can make a difference in my life and stay out of jail.
So, can you talk about the rededication of the house to Fred Hood and
Sure.
when and what exactly happened and why?
Sure. So, let me get the date for sure. What date was that? So, initially, we had 3 different locations kind of here in Lexington, because this is a 12-month program, 12 to 18-month program. You phase up and you start here, and then as you get into phase 3, you move to another location, which we call our phase 3 house. Well, we always had 2 phase 2 houses. 2 phase 3 houses, right? One at Lyndhurst and one at Linden Walk right here on campus. And the house at Linden Walk was called the Fred Hood House. And we had that house for many years, and it just deteriorated. It was in really bad shape. We didn't think that it made sense to kind of reinvest the money in that property there. So we let it go a few years ago and just moved all of our phase 3 to one central location. And so the Fred Hood House was gone, So we've been going through this process for a few years, and we moved from our original location to this location, and we wanted to get around to naming the house after Fred again, because he's our founder. It was his idea that was born and brought this whole process to life, and it's been his heart that's been at the center of this mission the entire time. So we just thought that it was appropriate, and then of course right after our 30th anniversary, COVID hit, so everything was kind of stalled, and it impacted everything. But once we knew we were able to do this, and we said we got to rename this house the Fred Hood House and have a big ceremony for him. So last Thursday, we had a great ceremony. The mayor was here. It was a great time, and meant a lot to me to be able to. I remember after it was all over, I kind of got to go up and talk to Fred Hood and just say, "Hey, thank you for saving my life." That's awesome.
So is Fred Hood still involved at all with the show?
He's not these days, no. So he was on the board of directors for years, and he turned it over to a gentleman named Alan Rhodes many years ago, and then Alan Rhodes took the Shepherd's House to the next level, and then he's passed the torch on as well. So
can you talk about who Alan Rhodes is and what he's done?
So he was a businessman that was in recovery, and he just believed in the mission of the Shepherd's House and dedicated his, he retired. He had just retired when he became on our board, became our chair, and he just really believed in this mission and made a difference in the lives of a lot of people. Really expanded the Shepherd's House, and nonprofits is always about how you're going to secure donors and building up money to keep this mission going, because this is not a profitable business for us. Housing men and women across the state, it's a tough job, but Alan was able to take us to the next level and put Shepherd's House on the map.
So, you're talking about it's obviously a hard job, and social work is. So can you speak on how it's hard, but how you push past it because of your passion?
Sure. Yeah, and I think for guys like me or for Christian that are graduates of this program, this is the Shepherd's House is my life. I mean, I showed up here on Friday, May the 1st, 2015, in state issued khakis. I had $20 to my name, And through this process of just becoming involved in this mission, I've been able to give my kids a life. I've been able to go back to school. I've been able, to get my bachelor's degree, be enrolled in my master's program, do all these things, because of this program. So it's just like, it doesn't matter what the pay is. It matters whenever you meet a guy, he's coming into the program, you meet him, you start investing in him, you start talking to him, and then a year later you see him graduating the program, and he's going on to live a successful life.
So how many men do you, or like people in general, do you think have had that same experience? Like, do you have a number?
No, so that's one of the things. Me and Christian have been working on a lot of projects, and they're always like, well, do you have solid statistics for the Shepherd's House? Do you have all these numbers? And because we did this for, we've been doing this for 30 years, and we just did it one way, and nobody ever thought in our history, like, hey man, we should probably record everybody that graduates, it's something that we're working on these days, but we feel like definitely this is a hard program first, let me say that. So while we may serve 150 to 200 different men in this program a year, not all of them stay for 12 to 18 months, and we know that doesn't even define success. I mean, some guys come here, they get 6 months of sobriety, they find a job that means something to them, they obtain stable housing, and they leave the program before they graduate. They go on to be successful, and they're still part of the Shepherd's House family. But those guys that graduate, this is a tough program to graduate. It's few and far between. It's a year that you're dedicating to your life, and you're getting out of your head and you're saying, all right, I'm going to dedicate 12 months to myself, And the guys that do that, we see a huge difference in their lives. I would suspect that there's been hundreds over the last 30 years. I graduated from Campbellsville in May with my BSW, and one of the social work professors came up to me, and he started talking to me, and I'd had one of his classes. It was an addictions class, and he said, I graduated the Shepherd's House in the 90s. And I said, no way, and this guy's a doctor now, teaching, social work classes, and I'm like, that's awesome, man. It's like, I hope I get to have that experience in the future.
That is awesome. So that's like opening up a door to, like, can you talk about how, like, there's a huge community behind this, like, you met somebody you didn't even know.
Yeah, for sure.
Graduated.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, so like, oh, you were here in the 90s, so did you know James Hunter, who was the house manager here for 20 years, And they were like, yeah, that's the scariest person I've ever met, And I'm like, yeah, me too, It's like, all right, so we're automatically connected, It's just like that connection of like, it's just the experience of being here on campus or that old house that we were in and thinking about the tough times over there. Like, there wasn't no air conditioning upstairs, So it's like those little things that they just really connect us. And it's just like a bond,
Do you think that's like a part of what makes Shepherd's House stand out from all the other houses?
It's the struggle, man. It's like you thinking about it. Thinking about being in the program, you have to grind it out. You have to know, like, that you're doing the right thing, that you're on the right path, because there's days, a 365-day long program, that's a long time, and we're tough on you. We want you to go to meetings every day. We want you to meet with your sponsor. You got to go to work, like my first job was at Five Guys on Nicholsville Road, and they were way too serious about cheeseburgers, and I just gotten out of prison, and I was just like, what? I can't deal with this. I never even had a job in my life, like, I can't deal with this. But then I would come back here, and the guys would be like, it's going to be okay, and I, there's just a lot. There's a lot.
So can you speak more about what, like, happens, like, while you're in the program, like, what you all do?
Sure. So, like I said, this is a year-long program. It's very intense. So your first 90 days here, you're expected to get a job. You attend group on Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, and you go to 7 AA meetings a week. So you go to an AA meeting every single day. You're required to get a sponsor, meet with your sponsor once a week for an hour, and then also be engaged in the brotherhood that takes place here. So it's very intense when you wake up in the morning. You come for meditation, then you're typically going to work. You come back for dinner at 5, group at 6, meeting at 8, bedtime.
Yeah. Can you explain what a sponsor is and like
Sure.
what they do?
Yeah. So, in Alcoholics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous was founded in the 1930s, and everybody's looking for a solution to drug use or alcohol problems, and these two guys got together and they started working together, and they both got sober, and all of a sudden this movement started happening where one alcoholic works with another, and it changes the lives of that person, and then it just goes on and on and on and on, and what started as a small group of 100 turned into millions of people across the world today, and it's the brotherhood on a much larger scale, so that sponsor that you get is the person that's going to take you through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. They have the experience, they're the ones that are going to hold your hand and kick you in the butt when you need it, but really help you find out why you feel the need to drink alcohol, or why you feel the need to compulsively use drugs.
So, is it intentional that you all are this close to campus? Like, do you all work with students, or like?
No, I mean it's not intentional, but it's really turned into a God thing, for us. We get first of all, typically if you go and find a treatment center, or if you go and find a halfway house, it's going to be where rent's cheap, which is in a bad neighborhood. So how much sense does it make to try to put people that are recovering from drug and alcohol use in a neighborhood where they're selling crack on the corner, or there's heroin down the street, or there's alcohol in every store? This is a beautiful location, and just to be here, it makes I remember, I was fresh out of the penitentiary when I got here. I kind of felt like I was somebody once I was here on campus, It was just like, okay, it was like, all right, I feel like somebody, I felt good about myself. I was in a good location, and so the surroundings really make the difference. And UK, you can't say enough about the University of Kentucky and how gracious they've been to us. Like I said, we were over there for 27 years in one location, and this location that we're at today came available, and it was, like I said, it was really just a God thing. This used to be a place where people would come and stay while their loved ones were in the hospital, and that organization kind of went out of business, and these buildings became empty, and UK said, hey, how would you guys like to move? And we had a grant to renovate these 2 buildings, and that's what we did.
Wow, that's awesome. So is UK involved with?
So they're our leaseholder on the property. They're a big supporter of us. They always support the Run for Recovery, which is our largest fundraiser every year, and they're obviously very supportive, or we wouldn't be on campus still.
So, what is the message you hope people take away from this house being created, and like Fredhood taking that step?
Yeah, it's like, the biggest thing that I got from this ceremony on Thursday was that we all are going to face problems in our lives. There's always going to be things that seem like we can't overcome. And you may come up with an idea, it's like, man, this is a good solution to that problem. Well, if you do come up with that, be like Fred and do something about it, because without Fred, this would have never happened. Without him, his determination to create a solution to this problem, and he stuck with it, and he's seen it through, and then it's grown into something amazing that saved my life, and all of my friends' lives.
Trying to think of more questions. We went through more. Let's see.
Yeah. YouTube video? Yeah, that's all I need to YouTube video. I'll be able to get it complete.
Tell Stephen Evangelist to throw me outside the door.
Hey, Joyce.
And he needs to add hangers. That's it.
Gotcha.
Alright. He can figure out how to get it back up.
I want to talk more about like the impacts it's had. I'm trying to think, because we've talked a lot about it, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the way to word it. is there anything that you have to say about like impacts? Like I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you really want to see the impact of the Shepherd's House, I'll invite you next year. In July, the last Saturday of July, we have the Shepherd's House Annual Run for Recovery. It's this event that a former client named Leroy Sanborn started as a way to give back to the Shepherd's House. You know, like I said, we're always looking for ways to raise money and keep the mission going. So he created this Run for Recovery, this 5K out at Keeneland 20 years ago. And, you know, what started as just like this small group of runners a few years ago had over 1,700 people. So go out there on a Saturday morning and see 1,700 people, some of them that have recovered through programs like the Shepherd's House, some of them that have lost family members, you know, some of them that are just there to celebrate the miracle of recovery. And like you can see the impact, the community, like all these individuals, like well-known people, you know, new clients, graduates, board members, and our community partners. They're all there. So like when you sit there on Saturday morning and you see the run and you see all the people gathered and you see the excitement going around and just the buzz of the recovery community, you're like, wow, the Shepherd's House is making a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Just lost what I was gonna say. Okay. Can you talk about how, if you know anything about like the addiction rates or like what the community looked like before Shepherd's House was here? I know you.
Yeah.
Like you were probably younger, like a lot younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I didn't know if you would know much about that, but.
So I don't know much about it, you know. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay.
All right, I got something. I mean, I can tell you more about, you know, today.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know what it was like when Fred Hood decided that he wanted to start this. I know that there must have been a need, though, right? Like his son, and there must have been other people at the church that have family members that have been experiencing the same problem, you know? So they tackled that issue, and we, like I said, we've served as many as we can for the last 31 years. And but, you know, just overall in the state of Kentucky and really in our country, you know, we're at the height of just this epidemic, you know, and like in 2019, you know, 1,964 individuals died from a drug overdose in Kentucky, you know, so while we're serving 300, we have to continue to expand and offer our services to more people, because like that's 1,964 families that were affected, no telling how many children, you know, and just lives lost of people that could go on to be vice presidents of nonprofits, or, you know, build skyscrapers, or do whatever, you know, really make a difference in a lot of lives. So the need today for programs like the Shepherd's House is even greater than ever. The need for people like Fred Hood to say, you know what, there's still an issue out here. Let's figure out how we can tackle it and create a difference. And then fast forward 30 years and see like it's made such a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Can you talk about like the epidemic, like the drug epidemic, and do you think that like Kentucky is affected so much by it? Do you think the reason for it is because there wasn't like a lot of access to recovery houses, or
Yeah, you know, it's when you look at the country as a whole and you start identifying states that have been heavily impacted by the opioid epidemic, you know, you start looking at states like Kentucky and West Virginia. You know, West Virginia, #1 per capita for overdose deaths, right? The least amount of treatment beds in the entire country, though. So you're telling me, like, how does that even make sense? Kentucky's kind of in the same boat, you know. With expanded Medicaid and things like that, it's really opened up access to treatment for individuals, and, you know, this huge push for medication for opioid use disorder, There's a lot of things popping up. There's money to be made in the industry, and people know that. But at the same time, like I was talking about earlier, the mission of the Shepherd's House is to just serve our individuals, not make our board a profit, not make their staff a profit, help anybody get rich. We just want to change people's lives.
I'm gonna end it.